Newsfile is your most authoritative news analysis show. My guests, Kweku Bako, Clara Berry, Dr. Okoboy, and Inus Ofuseni. Now, as you know, we are told that we are saving, we've been saved. Is it almost 50 billion? I mean, it's actually, we're to 49 billion United States dollars by reason of the decision of the special chamber of ITLOS last Saturday. We're told from the presidency that there are meetings that are supposed to happen to assist the two countries, you know, smoothly implement their decision. We also understand from the ITLOS and the other partners who are involved in all of this that a lot more is going to happen and Ghana will benefit. Now, I said we are fortunate to have Inus Ofuseni here because you remember very early on when the Attorney General announced that we have gotten to a point where we are going to ITLOS. At the time, he was a man who was at the forefront of the negotiations that failed. Let's listen to these clips, including the president, and then we'll come back to the studio and discuss the matters arising.
The Special Chamber of the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea, ITLOS, constituted on 3rd December 2014 to delimit the maritime boundary between Cote D'Ivoire and Ghana in the Atlantic Ocean, just rendered its decision this Saturday, 23rd September 2017. On the joint behalf of the presidents and the peoples of the Republic of Cote D'Ivoire and the Republic of Ghana, I would like to express our gratitude to the Special Chamber of the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea for the courteous attention with which the proceedings were conducted. Our two countries would also like to commend the Registrar of the Tribunal and his team for the admirable efficiency with which the case has been managed, resulting in an expeditious hearing to the mutual benefit of both parties. We are united in the expression of our gratitude to the Special Chamber. Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana accepted the decision in accordance with the statute of ITLOS. Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana seized this opportunity to reiterate the mutual commitment of the two countries to abide by the terms of this decision from the Special Chamber and to fully collaborate for its implementation. The two countries affirm the strong will to work together to strengthen and intensify their brotherly relationships of cooperation and good neighborliness.
This particular line, which in any case had been recognized by the parties, followed the equidistance principle, which is the internationally recognized method of delimiting maritime boundaries. And that even if it was the issue of customary, tacit agreement and estoppel did not hold sway with the court, that the tribunal was free to delimit our boundaries for us using the equidistance principle. We further argued that there were no relevant circumstances for which the line should be shifted. And of course, Cote d'Ivoire did not agree with that. They are of the view that the bisector principle was the equitable method of delimiting our boundaries, and that even if you used the equidistance principle, there were relevant circumstances for which reason the line ought to be shifted in their favor. The tribunal considered these arguments. Of course, as far as we were concerned, 50 years of practice and relying on that line meant something. And so we pushed the argument strongly. And as lawyers, I think we're obliged to push that argument on behalf of Ghana. The tribunal disagreed with us, but agreed that the equidistance method was the right method and that there were no relevant circumstances for which reason the line should be shifted. And so we are where we are today, where
But on the claim of tacit agreements,
yes,
on hindsight, you know, looking at how things went, would you have changed anything? Would you have done things differently?
We would not have done things differently. For us, it meant something. 50 years of practice meant something to us as lawyers. And so we were obliged as lawyers to put that argument to the tribunal.
We shouldn't allow the grass to grow under our feet. And I felt that as soon as possible, we should meet and begin now to chart the way forward. As to some extent also there's a time constraint for me. They will join, and then we can then define for ourselves what are the key steps that we need to take to consolidate what happened in Hamburg on Saturday, and then to find a way forward from there onwards. So, Minister, this is the reason why I asked for you to assemble your officials here, for us to think of the things going forward that we need to do
Right, you're welcome back. So you heard the Attorney General now, Gloria Akufu, and then you heard the former Attorney General Maretta Brew Appiah-Oppong, and the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, start with you, Honorable Yunus Afseni. Well, we are told that we have gained like 80 square kilometers more of territorial, space. You are not expecting that you are going to, as it were, insist that this is mine. You are not going to say, give me more. You got more. We got more, and we are told that about 49 billion United States dollars has been saved as a result of this. What is becoming curious, though, is the President's call that the two countries need to meet about the implementation. Is there a problem? Because the two actually issued a joint statement committing to the orders of the court.
Yeah, thank you so very much. I think that it is appropriate to commend the current Attorney General and the former Attorney General for the zeal, passion, and dedication to work that they exhibited in terms of pursuing our collective national interests. And also the Boundary Commission members, the old and the new, and the Minister of Energy and GMPC for putting resources at the disposal of the attorneys of the state to be able to pursue this case. Yes, we've saved some money. We've saved some money because Ghana had warranted and represented to international companies that we exercise sovereignty, control over the areas that we were given out to them. And if it turned out that we didn't have that right, the control over that territory, then we had misrepresented to them. And they would have been right and obliged to pursue us for misrepresentation and the consequent loss that they had suffered. And so, yes, the most important thing that I see of the judgment is that in exercising our right and control over the territory that we gave out to oil companies for prospecting, we never violated the territorial integrity of Ivory Coast. That's very significant. Because before we took the decision to go to ITLOS, Ivory Coast had in different fora where they were pursuing investment in their oil and gas deposit, presented to the world that they had jurisdictional right over the area that we were alleging to have control over. Indeed, in some maps that they had presented on the international scene, part of 10 would have been affected. If we had lost the case, because they used the bisector method. They thought that method, the ITLOS, the International Convention on the Law of the Seas, recognizes equidistance as the equitable way, but where that will not provide.
Sometimes we say 10 without explaining. Explain 10.
10 is the name of the oil fields that have been discovered presently. Chinibua, Enyira, or what is it? Ejira, and then the N is what? Ntume. Yeah, so that's 10, the 10 fields. And it holds a lot of hydrocarbon prospects. And so, and many other exploratory activities. Indeed, when Ivory Coast started making those forceful claims, even some of the companies, I wouldn't mention now, operating in Ghana, had gone to set up offices in Cote D'Ivoire to cut their losses. because they didn't know which way the case will go. And so they're being strategic. And so this decision is the right decision. And also to commend the two countries. I mean, nations have gone to war over territory. But we decided to commit ourselves to the Pacific resolution of the disputes.
Did they have an option?
Did they have an option?
When we say you should commend them, people have asked, did they have any option?
Well, they had. They always brought their gunboats closer to Jubilee. You never know what we are going through. Their gunboats. You will be on Jubilee platform, you will see Cote d'Ivoire and Navy patrolling close. Yes.
Finished to stop working.
Threatening. Yeah. So you never know the threat. You know, why did we take the decision? Anytime we went for negotiations, Cote d'Ivoire shifted position. And then we saw that maybe because they were just emerging from the civil war, we felt that there was some dichotomy between leadership and the people who were on the ground. While Alassane Ouattara was committed to resolving this dispute peacefully, those at the ground were not that interested. So
the decision was not easy.
It was not easy. I mean, I remember in one engagement, while we were briefing, he had to call Ouattara. You know, but we weighed the options. A negotiated settlement of the dispute would have resulted in some cost because Cote d'Ivoire was not prepared to budge. They wanted the bisector method to be used to determine our coastal line. Yes, we had evidence of the Cote d'Ivoire always writing to us anytime they were considering seismic activities closer to the border or our boundary line. They wrote to us to inform us that they wanted to conduct such activities. We took that as evidence of the acceptance of the customary boundary between us and them. For 50 years, they had respected it. But the court said, because we never agreed to, they did not agree to that. So, yes, there is still work to be done, and I agree with His Excellency the President. It's important to reconstitute the team immediately and get them to start to work. Boundary post 5-5 is still there. The boundary point is still there. Yes, but even though when we went there the last time, there were attempts to deface that boundary point. The special features where you will take the coordinates from are still there. It's important that we put together the team to go and work with the Ivorians. Now, it's an implementation of the judgment of the court. Right. The special chamber itself has given us the coordinates where they think, and that's the coordinates they are interpreting to say that we have gained about 80 square kilometers. That's good for us.
Right.
So when we went to try to pick the coordinates, we went with digital survey instruments. Okay. They came with analog. Now, so in getting an impartial abater to step in and ensure that the coordinates are well delimited and identified, we need to agree on a single system to use. Okay. So that is why it's important that our group, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, will continue to use the Pacific means to resolve this dispute, right, and in the implementation of the decision of the special chamber. Right. And I think that Ghana will be better off.
Yes, Doc. The other argument that discussion that's come out of this is that, look, we are able, you the politicians, are able to work together in the ultimate interest of Ghana, but you hardly do. And some say also look at those who have been involved here. They are women, and they are better at doing this than you the guys are able, to do.
I think as a nation we've come a long way. We know that what men can do, women can do better. So we, like he did, we all commend the office of the AG.
Did you just say that because Clara is here?
No, but most importantly, because Senior Goku is here.
Okay. Okay. we know his position.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to be safe.
Okay.
You know.
He's eternally biased towards women.
Yes. So I think
Oh, wow. Oh, this is discrimination.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. You know, so the collaboration, the continuum that we exhibited from one government to the other was very solid, and that is very good. You know, actually, immediately we went to the court. There was a moratorium on the drilling of new wells.
Yeah, yeah.
And once you have a moratorium, even foreign direct investment is affected, because all these wells development involves the bringing in of cash, right, which has a way of also contributing to the overall fiscal management of the economy. So it's good news.
Even more investors are coming.
Yeah, that I was talking about when the case started, when they had to tell us to stop drilling new wells and all that. Yeah, the temporary order. So the lifting of that moratorium, subsequent to this judgment, it's very, very good for the country. And it's obvious. I mean, I think in 2015 we had $396.17 million from petroleum receipts. In 2016 we had 247.18 as a result of the turret that had to be repaired and all that. But all I'm trying to say is that there's a direct correlation between the number of wells you are drilling and the petroleum receipts. So obviously with this ruling we are going to get more receipts. But the pointer, the most important thing to mention here is that we as a country must manage our revenues in a way that will ensure that it affects the lives of the citizenry positively. Everybody was excited about the judgment, not because on paper we had won against Ivory Coast, but because people hope and expect that things will get better through the revenues we get from petroleum revenue. So that is a very crucial thing we have to look at. I just want
particularly the NPP government.
Yes, and that's why
that means there's badly for the free SHS.
Yes. You know what? And let me. You know, and that is why it is so soothing to have all these judgments at a time when we are confident about the discretion and prudence of those who are in charge. You see, I don't want to go into the PIAC reports, but when you look at the details, some of the disclosures in the PIAC report, there is some level of apprehension about the discretion being used when it comes to the monies. So going forward, I think we are safe. When the president said we have to talk to, confer with Ivory Coast, right, I mean, there is so much wisdom in that. Because sometimes it is not only about winning a case, it's about whether you're open to cooperate. You can have a country or a party who deliberately refuse to cooperate, knowing that that lack of cooperation itself will create tension and will not inure to anybody's benefit. So it is, yeah.
ITLOS does not have an enforcement wing.
Exactly. So to a larger extent, and you know, the Delta, the Niger, in Nigeria, yeah, you have people who have decided to be saboteurs. So a country or elements within can make things difficult. In fact, in the future, we might even need Ivory Coast, like Sina said, to try to tame people who don't want to conform with the attitude of the central government. Exactly. You know, so I think there's a lot of wisdom. But this is the real deal. The most judicious use of the resources. That will ensure there's a lot of, that will ensure that the application is most equitable, progressive, responsible, and transformational. Something is what? Did you get all that?
I did.
The manner to ensure that the proceeds and revenue will touch as many lives as possible will be most equitable, progressive, responsible, and transformational. Obviously, one of them is through the funding of the free SHS. You know, but beyond that, it's but why? How come that you invite your comments? Everything should invite your comments. So I don't know. We are all excited about the collaboration, the ruling, and like the president mentioned aptly, there must be collaboration to ensure that we all operate within a very calm atmosphere. Okay. No deliberate non-cooperation to thwart the efforts of our country.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, Clara, we forgot to add one thing, which is this is an addition to the United Nations agreeing for us to extend our territorial waters,
which application you had already made.
Yes. Something, okay. One lesson from this case is that it's not always that when you go to court, you are wasting somebody's time.
Okay.
Sometimes you get, I don't remember the person, but there are people who had a problem and said we wasted about 7-8 months in court. In court, you are given a scaffold to get better things, like we've had in this particular situation.
Thank you. Let's hear from Clara. Yes, Clara.
You didn't hear that?
I agree largely with what the two previous speakers have said on. Of course, we cannot overemphasize the congratulations to Team Ghana. We should also congratulate Team Ivory Coast, because losing is difficult, especially when you I'm sure they would also have had their hopes and probably also even made plans to what to do with the money that they could get if they won this case. But of course, they demonstrated at least some spirit of wanting to cooperate, even though losing was difficult. The two countries issued a joint statement respecting agreeing to abide by the decision, and not just that, to cooperate, because apart from that, even though the coordinates have been given and the formula for the delimitation has been given, the two countries would have to cooperate to delimit it and then abide by
to start with, when people say we need to commend Ivory Coast also, like you said, they came together to say whatever. But even the point of submitting to ITLOS,
exactly,
they were not under compulsion, and they could have decided to use another means.
In fact, that's the other point. Even agreeing to submit.
We saw clearly that at the point, Ivory Coast was not interested in going to.
Okay.
So at least both countries, both Ghana and Ivory Coast, have demonstrated to their people that there is a way to solve disputes, even if you can't agree. You can take entrenched positions, but there is a way to have a civil, respectable way of resolving your dispute, and that is by submitting it to an impartial administration or an impartial body to determine. So, and we should also congratulate the tribunal, because the tribunal needed to at least adhere to the process for the parties to have confidence in the process and to be able to respect the outcome of the process. And of course, we can't leave out the people of Ghana. Everybody, I know that on the day the judgment, the award was being read, everybody was really sitting on tentacles expecting this for one reason, that we need the money. So it comes back now that at least we've secured the
But there are those who are saying the money really is for the companies that are involved.
No, but that is so accountability. So at least now that, of course, so it means that our leaders will have to ensure prudent use, and not just that. What I always keep saying, democracy is not about elections. So the people need to be able to hold their leaders accountable, and their leaders are also supposed to be expected to be able to use the funds to at least develop or improve the circumstances of all Ghanaians. So we give congratulations, and we are all happy with the way and expect
issues of arbitration, an area of your expertise again. They submitted to this.
Yes.
If they had agreed to the settlement, they would have gotten something. Now they have lost completely.
That is true. But that is true. Negotiations, that's another thing that I think not just, I think even for Africans, apart from the nations, even the way we deal with ourselves, I don't think our art of negotiation is that, we are not very much committed to negotiating and at least knowing that, okay, let me give this and take that. Okay. But like we said, at least we have everything intact.
Right. And let's hear from Kweku.
Well, after last week's demystification for some of us, you know, I was at sea when the judgment was being read, you know. But now I think nerves have been relaxed, cooled down. The emphasis now is on what the president is initiating, the need for the bilateral talks and to consolidate, you know, the friendship. You know, once upon a time, we had a treaty of friendship and understanding with La Cote D'Ivoire. Okay. Yes, it was ratified by Parliament on 25th May, 1970. Incidentally, it was then the UP-inclined regime in office, just the same coincidence. And we had agreements on various areas, you know, if you take, so I believe the president should emphasize, this should be a trigger to deepen our relationship with them in many areas. That point in time, oil was not prominent, but fishing. Last time Akomia was talking about fishing. We signed a subsidiary agreement with them to use the coast, you know, the sea around us. And we had understanding. somehow the treaty fell in abeyance. So I think it's a time to renew, sit down with them, with oil now becoming very critical. There are also some fishes to be fished, and so many other things, communications and all the rest. We signed agreements with all of them under that treaty. We have a long-standing relationship. So I think it can be renewed in order to, deal with this matter critically. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Well, on that note, let me say thank you all for watching and for listening. And my guest, as always, we have just some 4 minutes to go, but my guest, as always, Abdul Malik Kubako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Clara Berry Kasati is a lawyer and teaches the law. Inusa Hussaini is MP Tamale Central and ranking member, Legal and Constitutional Committee of Parliament. Dr. Oko Boy is MP Lejokuku,
ranking member,
and member Select Committee on Health. We spoke to Evans Mensah. We spoke to Evans Mensah on the phone. But there's one other issue we tabled, but we don't have time to discuss. Let me hear Newsa briefly on that. The ECG workers who are seeking that before they take over, they ought to be giving severance. And Ejako says you can't have that.
Oh, I think that it's too early in the day. I don't know why they're asking for severance now. While we were in government, we always said that the interest of the ECG workers must be paramount and that no worker must lose his position. But if a worker is prepared to go, then he takes his severance. But if you want to work with the company, I don't think that it's appropriate now to be asking for severance when you want to continue with the company.
That's what Ejako said. Do they really have a point in asking that they be paid severance before they move on to the next company?
It depends on the process that has begun up till date. Because the requirement is that if you are going to have a takeover of this nature, you should involve the labor unions if the condition is if there is going to be likelihood of loss of jobs. Yeah. So it depends on whether there is likelihood of loss of job or not. If there is not, then the second thing about redundancy pay or severance pay is not just termination. Also when they are going to suffer any diminution in sense. Yeah. So which in English, in short, what it means is that you are going to suffer some disadvantage or some detriment. Maybe your salary was 10,000, you are now going to get 9,500, or you had some other perks that you are not going to get. So if the effect of it is that you are going to lose something, yes, you would be entitled to some form. It's to be negotiated between the workers and then the labor union or the employers, with the employers or their representatives. So it really depends on.
So if they have full assurance that they will not suffer any diminution,
then there is no redundancy pay to be paid.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I think it's important to know that there was an original Compact 2 which has been reviewed slightly by this government from 25 years to 20 years.
Right.
And then there was a guarantee of security of employment for only 5 years, but now for 20 years you will not be touched. So with these ones, it dampens the request for severance. It's not justifiable.
In 30 seconds, who wants to say anything?
No comment.
You don't?
Yeah. All right. What that is enough.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us on the show. My outfit, as always, is supplied by Latida. Have a good afternoon.